guess part two. Well, no, not really part two. Let's just talk about it the way it is. Um, Connection, right? Any kind of connection. There's things you're going to come across that sound like they're a good idea. Let's go through those, shall we? Being safe, being protective, creating boundaries. Do you tell yourself this is an open or closed experience when it comes to connection? Any of those three. If you said closed, you are absolutely 1000% correct. Those three things are like the kryptonite. I guess if you want to use a Superman term, it's like the kryptonite of this connection. Once you have those things, you kind of shut everything out without even knowing you've disconnected. You find yourself doing what you think is the right idea, but it feels horrendous inside. That feeling is trying to tell you, how am I going to be vulnerable on these things? If you're safe, if you're protective, and you're creating boundaries, how are you vulnerable? You're not. So you might as well just tell yourself you've disconnected. That is the only way around it. That is the only way through it. Is that cut and dry. If you can't be vulnerable, you're not open for connection. So how do you heal vulnerability? That's the $1,000,000 question, isn't it? Because you're not going to let yourself have this connection or any kind of love without vulnerability. Because it's the truth of the matter, right? You've never seen anybody not be vulnerable and then get loved. We say it all the time. We love somebody, but we're never vulnerable with them. How are you telling them that? Vulnerability is the key. Vulnerability is the key to all of it. Pain is what you need to find your vulnerability in, because that's what you've done with it. You've learned how to isolate and forget and walk past and ignore. Most people say, well, that's healing. I did my work. I got through it. That's not healing. Healing means your feelings are completely available. That's what healing means. If somebody asks you to, oh, you healed that? Oh, I fixed that. I've been working on that. I worked on that, and oh, it's going to be okay. None of that makes sense. And if you really listen to yourself and really feel what you're saying, it won't make sense to you either. We learn to cope. We're all taught to cope. Then we're all taught that our feelings are what? That they matter or they don't. As you go through this and you literally pay attention to every time you've gotten hurt, what did you do with the hurt? You got to go and backtrack it. If you don't know how to do that, that's why we're here. So if that's something you want to do, we got you. But here's the number one rule. If you've stumbled into a twin flame connection and you find yourself not being vulnerable, yeah, you're disconnected. And you keep trying to tell this person that you want to be connected to them, and you don't know how to tell them that you're connected to them. The one thing you're not thinking is you should just be vulnerable, because we believe vulnerability is a weakness, where in the truth, vulnerability is why this connection is starting to be more apparent. You cannot have connection without vulnerability, any more than you'll let yourself have connection without your pain. Those two are no-brainers. It's like you have to realize what you're saying to yourself and what you've created for yourself isn't really what this connection is about. So if you're in your mind trying to tell yourself what they would say, do, and how they would react and respond to your vulnerability, don't worry, that's just you rejecting you. And then once you started rejecting you, you're going to call to the energy of rejection and it's going to be drawn to you. So when you go to speak that, that's exactly what you're going to get. So don't be upset because you got to be right. See, all of that is a mess. It is a pure mess. There's a different way. You are allowed to have connection. This is not for the selective few. This is not for 144. I don't know where anybody came up with this crap other than the Bible, because if you go in the Bible, a lot of the same shit that people are trying to say about this connection came from there. Doesn't make any damn sense. None. That book never got anybody loved, and it's still not getting anybody loved. It gets us judged, but this is just my opinion. And I don't care what anybody thinks. I've just seen what that kind of shit does. And that's the thing. You can't mix religion with this connection because this connection doesn't even know what that is. The only thing that your connection is going to know what it is your vulnerability. And if you haven't figured that out yet, I'm glad that you're here because that means we're getting somewhere. So if you've never been told that, you are not going to let yourself be in this connection, have this connection, or live with this connection without your vulnerability. There, I said it. So I hope this goes someplace deep inside because you have roots that still need to grow. Look at this connection much like a tree. The tree can come together, but if the roots underneath are rotten, the tree's not going to grow. And if it doesn't have space, it won't have any place to grow anyway. So, that's something you want to do? Free 30 minutes. We're still doing them. Root Camp, still there. Connect Me to Me. I hope these are helping. It's a lot different when we sit in front of somebody and talk to them. The way we talk to each other is just the way that we can feel each other and be in each other and not have to hide. Can you imagine being with somebody and never having to hide what you think or what you feel? Well, that's this connection. Don't get it wrong. That's what this is. And if you struggle to be that even for yourself, then this connection is going to give you all kinds of hell. Remember, we're together day and night. I wouldn't be telling you something I don't already know and have learned over all of this time. This was 20 years in the making, so we felt some things. At least we stopped hiding them. So that's it for me. See you guys next time.